Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Canadian Passive Investing Show. I'm your host, 𝗖𝗍𝗶 𝗖𝗽, and I'm joined by my co-host, 𝗖𝗍𝗶 𝗖𝗽. We have another great show for you today. Please like and subscribe as it helps us build our channel and allows us to keep bringing you great content and expert guest speakers. Our mission is to empower investors to earn passive income through real estate investing. So today we're going to be joined by Seth Ferguson. Seth is a founder of the real estate investment company Multifamily Real Estate Investments, Inc., that provides investment opportunities for high net worth individuals by acquiring and improving underperforming apartment buildings. A 13-year real estate veteran, Seth is the host of cable TV Real Estate Show, the host of Real Estate Investing Podcast, and had his first book, Sell for More, published in 2018. That is amazing. So we believe this interview will bring value to anyone looking to start or scale as an active multifamily investor. The show will also be tremendously helpful, to passive investors looking to invest in multifamily real estate opportunities. So welcome, Seth, and thank you so much for being here today.
Welcome, Seth.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Too bad I'm not actually at your house. That looks like a really nice place.
Thank you so much. Soon enough, you'll have to come for a visit.
Absolutely.
Seth, can you please start off by telling our viewers a bit about your background and your start in real estate, please?
Yeah, well, I got started in real estate almost as a fluke. So my dream in my late teens to early 20s was to be an NHL hockey referee. That's what I was doing. So I was in the States for a year, lived in Minnesota, traveled East Coast, West Coast, everywhere, working a bunch of different junior and pro leagues. But then I realized that there were guys in the program in their 30s and they were still chasing the dream, even though the window had closed. And I didn't want to be like them. So I came back to Ontario and worked some hockey with the OHL and another pro league. And got my real estate broker's license. That was my entry into real estate because I needed a real job just in case hockey didn't work out. And good thing I did that because hockey did not work out. I came close, but not close enough. So, yeah.
Great.
Okay, good for you. Maybe you can tell us about the moment that you realized the benefits of multifamily investing, and tell us, what was it about multifamily that motivated you to literally build your thought leadership platform around this particular topic?
Well, I could answer that question in about 5 hours. So a lot went into it.
Take your time. Take your time.
So I guess to like rewind, I got my real estate broker's license, started selling. And then I hit the point where I think a lot of people hit it. You know, I had like the nice car, I had like the nice house, and it was just me at the time. But my income was coming in. I was making really good money, but then it was going out just as fast into lifestyle expenses. So I didn't really have anything left over, and I got pretty down about it. And that's when I decided to start buying real estate. And in my job as a real estate broker, I was selling houses on a daily basis. So that's where I actually started in real estate investing. Because I knew the product better than anybody else. So I started acquiring these single family homes with my partner at the time. But there was a point where, you know, with Canadian lending, the requirements are really tight. And, you know, you guys are out West, you know, I'm in the GTA. House prices are pretty crazy. The rental yield just isn't there. So I was cash flow poor, but equity rich. So that presented some problems in trying to scale the portfolio because my income was good. But as we all know, with residential lending, the bank's looking at you to shoulder the debt, not at the property itself. So the properties were good, but you know, I had really maxed out my lending capacity. So when my son was born, I wanted to do more and scale bigger because now I was investing for somebody else. And I knew real estate was the way to go because I'd made far more money with the real estate I owned than the actual job I had earning commission selling houses. But I knew that single family wasn't the right fit because I couldn't scale it. And I remember I sat down and I worked out, you know, how many houses will I have to own to actually hit my real estate goal? And it was like 1,000 houses. And, you know, can you guys imagine owning 1,000 houses? Like, that's crazy. 1,000 tax bills and all that. So I started looking at different types of real estate. I looked at multifamily, looked at industrial, office space, like all the different options out there. And multifamily really resonated with me. And that was kind of my entry into the multifamily space. And, like most people, they drive by apartment buildings every day. And, my thought process before was, you have to be super rich to own those, only big companies own these apartment buildings. I just didn't know, like apartments are almost like that secret world, like they're hidden behind the velvet curtain or whatever. And there's just not a lot of education out there for it, which is why like you guys doing the podcast and all that stuff, like that's huge, because it's actually giving people an entry into the world of multifamily real estate and apartments. Because, if somebody goes into their bank, the bank's not going to tell them about real estate. Well, number one, the banker has no idea about real estate. But number two, they want to keep you within their box, the Wall Street box, because they make their money when you put your money in traditional investments. So that's a bit of a tangent. I could rant about that forever. But yeah, so basically I went from single family homes where I was doing okay, but I wanted to go bigger, and it just wasn't scalable. So that's when I went over to multifamily, just because the scalability was there. You're able to do bigger deals. The cash flow is a lot stronger. You can get commercial lending, all those benefits.
Yeah, great. No, that's awesome. And kind of brings a thought in my mind and a story where I started my career as a licensed agent, moved on to doing small fix and flips, and I eventually became a general contractor building luxury homes. But the clients that I was building homes for from all walks of life, the profits they were making on pretty much not doing any work was just buying a piece of land, hiring me as the builder, and we would build a nice home, and then they would in most cases sell it. In some cases it was custom home, but in most cases it was a spec home. They were making probably easily 10x of what I was making. So that's what was my realization, that hey, I'd rather be the developer than to be the builder or general contractor. So I came to that kind of realization moment as well. So it's great to hear you kind of being in that space of real estate, knowing that this is a great investment to be involved, but realizing that single family might not be the right or the scalable kind of business model to pursue.
Yeah. And it's not like, I have friends who have done really well in the single family space. Like, I'm not saying single family is not a good buy, but I think you really have to look at, where you want to end up. And that's one thing. When I first started, I didn't know where my destination was in investing. I was just buying property because I thought you were supposed to buy property. So now, I always have people go through this process where, I call it your decade vision, where we actually go through it and figure out where are you going, because the decision you make on your first deal or your second deal, that's going to have an impact on deal 4, 5, and 6. So you have to make sure you're kind of pointed in the right direction. So, if you're, Richard Branson or Elon Musk pointing towards Mars, you got to make sure you're aiming at Mars, not, a couple degrees to the left.
Yeah, absolutely. And Seth just said something. He's like, I was buying single family because I just thought I was supposed to put my money into real estate. A lot of people are just taught to put your money into real estate without realizing that there's so many different avenues that you can take and really utilize, figure out the best one that's going to benefit you most.
For sure. And especially like Seth said, in Vancouver and Toronto, the rent to value ratios are so low that you're not cash flowing. You're most probably in negative cash flows. There is appreciation, of course, because they're so sought after areas, but it's not a scalable business. And the best way of investing in real estate is to reach both, is to have cash flow and appreciation. And unfortunately, single family in Vancouver and Toronto does not provide that to you. And that's where his metric, as far as owning 500 homes or 5,000 homes, you're still in negative cash flows because you're just there for the appreciation gain.
And it's a disappointment for a lot of people in Vancouver and Toronto because they think that's their only option when it comes to real estate too, right? So it's really great, both of our companies that we're doing to try to help people understand.
But also looking into the US, also California and New York, whereas they're the most populated states in the US. Same kind of idea. The most single family real estate condos or single family homes don't provide cash flow. The cap rates are so compressed. So it's great to hear that. Now,
to any of you listening, there's an alternative solution here.
Exactly. Go ahead. I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add on to that. A lot of people, I never had anybody in my family who was successful in real estate. I didn't know any investors. So I kind of started out on my own, and, read some books and just kind of picked it up. So I think, looking back to when I first started, I would do things so differently now. And now with, YouTube and the podcasts out there, there's so much information. I think somebody starting now investing in real estate, they are so much farther ahead. Like I call it the lost decade for me. And, easily, we're talking millions of dollars in like lost opportunities or missed opportunities, probably even 10, 20, $30 million if I could go back and start again. So yeah, it's just, and then there's also options too, like we mentioned in the States. One thing in Ontario, we are very tenant friendly when it comes to legislation. We have rent control. And then, you look at California, that's another very rent controlled, pro-tenant kind of state. So you do have options as an investor to place your money in other markets where, you have a little bit more control over the investment. You have more rights as a landlord or owner, all that sort of stuff. So don't be afraid. Like if you're living in Toronto or Vancouver, yeah, you can buy a place there, but explore your options. Like get in touch with somebody who kind of has the experience with looking in other markets and other types of investments. Because, if I could go back, there's no way I would repeat what I did.
No, that's great.
Great
No,
advice.
you mentioned YouTube. So Seth, I gotta let everyone know, I personally enjoy watching Seth's YouTube channel, especially the educational and informative videos that you create on many topics related to real estate investing. Please let us know about the creation of this thought leadership platform. In your case, YouTube show, podcast, your book. Tell us about how everything came about, and what also the kind of what came first and what have you, if you may.
Oh boy. Okay. We're going to go to a very dark time in my life. So, so what happened was, I had the single family portfolio with, my partner at the time, and, she had some issues. And, what happened was I was told I would never see my son again. She wiped out the bank accounts, took all the money out, changed the locks on the house, took the car when I was inside the gym. So I had no vehicle. And so basically, in a blink of an eye, I went from having this nice house, a bunch of cars, some okay money in the bank, to nothing. And the single family portfolio kind of came crashing down because, all the reserves from like all the bank accounts, she took all the money. And we had some vacancies. She refused to rent the units and fill them. And things got pretty bad. So basically, I started from ground zero all over again. And I cried for 3 days. And then after 3 days, I decided to do something about it. So and that's basically where the thought leadership platform came from. I had spoken with the TV channel before. I had filmed some short clips about 5 years previous. They always said they wanted to do a real estate TV show. Picked up the phone, called them, set up a meeting, and I'm like, hey, do you guys still want to do the TV show? And they're like, yeah, for sure. So then I got a TV show, and then I started the podcast. And then later on, I started the YouTube channel. So all that thought leadership platform, like that all came from me basically losing everything and having to start over from scratch. So the good news is, my son is in my life, and he's a very happy guy. But it was just a very bad situation. But one thing I found actually doing the podcast, I've done about 400 interviews now for the podcast. And one thing I found was a lot of the successful people, they all kind of hit their rock bottom at some point, and they actually bounced off their rock bottom stronger. So, a guy like Rod Cleef, he had a mansion overlooking the lake. He lost it all. Now he has a better mansion right across on the same lake from his old place. And he bounced back. Like there's so many guys I can mention. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm trying to take it. I'm trying to use what happened in the past, and I never want to be put in that situation again. So that means I need cash flowing assets. I need stability. And I will fight claw, tooth and nail to avoid being put back in that situation.
Yeah. But not only that, your resilience allowed you to kind of take a difficult situation and be better, but also in the process, you're helping a lot of people. Like I mentioned earlier, I actually, take a lot of golden nuggets away from the content you create. So
cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's really, really inspiring that you went through all of that. And thank you for sharing your story with us, and came back even stronger, and let that not destroy you, but motivate you to do big things. And that's just, thank you for sharing that, because that's really motivating.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries.
A brief add-on question is about, because you have so many, like we see you everywhere, we see you on LinkedIn, on different social media platforms, on YouTube, obviously, as I mentioned, podcast. How do you manage everything? So there's a kind of a consistent question that we ask from many experts who come on show, because we see them doing so much. And in your case, I think it's even more.
He even grabs a whiteboard out and literally teaches people so they can understand. So please share that with us.
So how do you manage everything? Do you use any task management software? Do you have a team? And also a very important component of being an active investor and kind of educating is for people to be able to have some time freedom to let their money work for them. So with doing all of this, how do you manage everything? And does it still leave some time for you to have, family time or what have you?
Oh boy. Well, I think every kind of entrepreneur, they always work too much, and then they always have to be told to put the laptop down and stop working. So I'm working on that right now. But yeah, like in order to do everything, you need a team. So Francis, if you're watching, thank you. Francis is my lead assistant, and he kind of keeps everything on track. He manages the YouTube channel, does the video editing, and all that stuff. So yeah, like you mentioned, so right now I've got the YouTube channel, the podcast, and then we've got some live webinars we run. And then I've got a multifamily course for passive investors. And then we've got a big conference coming up next year. I think we'll touch on that in a bit. Cool. So that's a lot of stuff up in the air. And yeah, without a team, that would not work. So the way it's set up now is I'm the content creator. So like I do the YouTube video, I do the podcast episode, I teach the web class. But then after that, I don't touch it. It gets edited by the team. They'll take out all my mistakes. So you guys see the YouTube video, you don't see me like swearing when I mess up, 5 times in a row. So all that stuff gets edited, and then it gets put out. So, but actually we are retiring the podcast, I am sorry to say.
Okay.
Just because what we found was from like a response, like I get way more inquiries from investors from YouTube than I do from the podcast. So we're going to retire the podcast because it's a lot of work to do everything. And we're probably going to amp up the YouTube and just double down, because I've done 400 interviews on the podcast. It's a great group. We might restart it at some point, but for right now, with all like the conference plan and all that stuff, it's too much right now.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, right? You see what works and what doesn't work, keep data and go from there.
Yeah. And there's no I in team. So it definitely takes a strong team to build this.
Oh, well, 100%. Like there was, when I first started, I had to move in with my parents because I didn't have anything, right? And then I started the podcast. So I was editing everything. I was doing all that stuff. But you quickly have to start adding people to your team to have any hope of keeping your sanity.
Delegate. Yes. Yeah.
Great.
Now, Seth, you have in the past syndicated a US multifamily investment. So we were going to ask you to please talk to us about what it was about US multifamily that interests you and the experience you had in syndicating the project.
Yeah, I actually just did a web class about this yesterday, so it's fresh on my mind. So yeah, what drew me to the US was the scale of the market. So here in Canada, like the US population-wise is like 10 times our size in Canada. And, not to be offensive to other Canadian markets, but realistically, we have Toronto and Vancouver. Those are the main drivers in the country. We've got more secondary markets, but if you look at, markets with over 1 million population in that MSA area, we don't have very many options as Canadians. The US, much larger population. It's a capitalist juggernaut. Capital is attracted there from all over the world. More options in terms of market diversity because of the larger population size. And it's a different unit type. I personally like garden style apartments. I think it's a really good mix of having that green space and the ability to do things with the property, not just a high rise. You just really don't have garden style per se in many Canadian markets because usually you have a pool. When you have snow for most of the year, a pool doesn't really work. So for those reasons, like I really look towards the US. Plus, when I was first starting out, this is one of the things, and we've spoken about this before as well. Like syndication is like a hidden secret here in Canada for some reason. Like nobody talks about it. It's it's like this mysterious thing that nobody really knows about, and it is a viable option. Whether you're syndicating deals here in Canada, whether you're in the US, it is a great structure to invest and own real estate in. But yeah, so for all those reasons, in terms of like just market size, strength, asset type, plus, I gotta be good friends with a lot of people in the U.S. So, why not work together and do a deal? Like I'm working on one that hopefully is going to come together soon, right now, and I've got my friends working on it with me, and we're having a good time. So yeah.
And for site visits, you can get to go and check out somewhere probably warm. So that's also great as well.
That's fantastic.
Exactly. I just got my vaccine shot last week. So I've got one more week before I can fly back and forth without quarantining. So
that's awesome. August and I also love our US friends. So we can't wait to see them. They're great people.
Yeah. Great.
Now, Seth, being in the real estate private equity space and cultivating and nurturing relationships with investors is an extremely important component of this business, as we all know. Can you talk to us about the process you have to connect with the investors, and how do you nurture these relationships as you're waiting for your next deal?
Yeah, I think the secret, we're producing so much content from everything we're doing. That makes it easy because, the content we're producing is typically what somebody's looking for or they're interested in when they're on my list, right? Like if somebody's interested in investing in real estate as a passive investor, they're interested in learning about debt. So when they see a deal, they know what they're talking about or what to look for. They want to learn how we increase the value of an asset. Like what are the different ways we can do that? And that's what my content's based around. So we really use, the what's being produced on YouTube and the podcast to send it out to our list and just keep them in the loop and warm. And, when we have a deal that's looking okay, like it's going to turn out, we'll send it out and say, hey, heads up, we may have one coming down the pipeline. So yeah, it's just, I always start things off when somebody gets in touch. I always want to have a call with them, get to learn more about what their, what their plans are, what other past investments have they made, what they liked, what they didn't like, just so I have a better handle on kind of where they're at with their situation. And then we take it from there with further calls. And then, I certainly pick up the phone every time we have a chance to talk about a potential deal. And we also talk about the deals we don't do. So I'll send it out an email and say, hey, last week we looked at this deal. I thought it was going to work. And then because of this, we axed it. And I think that's really important as well, just for investors to learn, your thought process and, why you don't go for a certain deal when it might look good at the first pass.
Great information.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about the conference you have coming up.
Oh, yeah.
We're continuously seeing you marketing on social media platforms about the incredible event that he's organizing called the Multifamily Conference. So we were wondering, we see that you're going to have some superstar guests on speaking on the conference. So maybe you can tell our viewers about how they can get tickets. How did this all come about?
For sure. So the Multifamily Conference is happening in Toronto in 2022, May 14th and 15th. Super excited about it. So we've got Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank coming in as a keynote speaker. We've got some other really big names in the multifamily space. So Kevin's going to be talking about the nature of capital, working with investors, raising equity, that sort of thing. I think he's a perfect guy for that. And then we've got Rod Cleef coming in. Rod, if somebody's in the multifamily space, he's well known. Joel Block in terms of structuring syndications and funds, excellent guy. Richard Wilson from the Family Office Club talking about raising capital. Who else? Pierre-Paul Turgeon, he's a Canadian, used to work for CMHC. He's going to be covering underwriting and how lenders look at deals. We've got Edna Keep, she's from out west. Another good person, Mike Reed, about marketing and building your brand as a real estate investor. We've got so many speakers that I'm so excited. I probably left out a whole bunch. I'm just going off the top of my head.
Sure. And this is an in-person meeting, or this is a online?
In person, no more Zoom. I am sick of Zoom meetings, like everybody else. So
but initially, when we saw, was it initially supposed to be online and then got
converted? No. I made, and that was one of the things. I decided to do the conference. I remember I was sitting beside my girlfriend at the time, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have Kevin O'Leary speak at my conference, because I just decided that day I was doing a conference. And she kind of laughed at me. I said, no, watch, I'm going to have Kevin O'Leary. And within a couple of days, I was in touch and we had things ironed out. So, but yeah, no, we're in person. I decided to run the conference in the middle of coronavirus. And I said, you know what? May 2022 will be okay. Let's do it in person. Because I think, Zoom's good. But one thing I say all the time is, like, you and I, we're having a good conversation right now. I think the connection and how the conversation changes is different in person. Like, you just get a better feel. You're there in the conference, like, you have the energy in the building, totally different than sitting on your laptop. And then you've got the doorbell ring with your Amazon package. You got like the kids in the background, totally different. So I think, for an attendee, so somebody who buys a ticket and attends, they will get so much more out of it by showing up in person than just by watching on Zoom. So we don't have any virtual tickets. It's we're back rocking and rolling, and things are looking like they're going in the right direction. In the US, they've been running in-person events. Like, look at the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we'll be okay come May 2022.
That's fantastic. Now, where can people get tickets to the event?
Yeah. So you talked about the marketing. Like, we haven't even started the marketing yet. Like, you haven't seen anything. But you can go to multifamilyconference.ca, and you can look at the speaker lineup, get some tickets. We still have some speakers we haven't announced yet, so I always have to be careful who I say we have at the event. But it's going to be an awesome 2 days. I'm so excited. And I'm so pumped to have Kevin come and all the other speakers.
Great. We got to check our calendar, see what we're doing. We might go check it out in Toronto there.
That's really
come. You guys can meet Kevin, and trust me, I'm a huge food fan. I love food. The food's going to be excellent. And then we have a great after party Saturday night. We were just planning that on Monday. So the after party is going to be unreal.
Oh, that's exciting. We're really excited for you on that. So I'm actually excited again, because we're going to start the next segment of our show, and that is the 10 championship rounds to financial freedom.
The challenge should be saying that 10 times fast. That should be the challenge.
I can barely say it once, so that won't be good. So we're going to start here, and just whatever comes top of mind, Seth, that's the answer.
All right, here we go.
Who was the most influential person in your life?
My son.
What is the number one book you recommend?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
If you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't buy single family homes. Do multifamily.
Nice.
Or I should say, don't hook up with that person. Take a pass.
Be selective.
Yeah.
What is the best investment you've ever made?
The best investment I ever made? That's a tough one. I think you stumped me. I don't know. The best investment I ever made. You know what? I think it would be, I would have to say, oh geez, this is tough. You might have to edit this out.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, best investment.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical thing. It could also be an investment into something else.
Yeah, you know what? Like I would say, honestly, the very first multifamily investing course I ever took, because it opened my eyes to a world I had no idea was out there.
Incredible.
Yeah. Took a while, but I got there.
There you go. That's a good one. Yeah. Now, what's the worst investment you've ever made?
Oh, buying life insurance and mutual funds from the bank.
Oops.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
To retire? Ooh, at least 10 million.
If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, I'm going to throw you for a loop here. I would say the Duke of Wellington, Arthur Wesley.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I'm a huge history nerd.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
Oh, I wish I would be an NHL referee. That was really my dream.
Book smarts or street smarts?
Street smarts.
If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
Cash flow producing real estate.
Great. Awesome. That was awesome.
That's a wrap.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Seth. That was lots of fun.
Yeah, Seth, thank you for taking the time coming on here. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I gain a lot of knowledge just watching your videos and content you create. Thank you for taking the time coming here, adding value to our viewers. And
yeah, Seth, we really appreciate you sharing everything. And Seth, if you could just take a moment, tell everyone what's the best way people can reach you, please.
Yeah, just find me on YouTube and leave a comment. So youtube.com/Seth Ferguson.
Awesome.
Right on. Thanks for coming, Seth.
Thank you.